What's up, guys? You know I had to make this video, a little Sam Darnold reaction video, the newest Seattle Seahawk. Sam's a guy, he's a buddy of mine. He's a guy that I battled with all throughout college, and I grew up a Seahawks fan. I'm a 12, been living in LA for much of the past decade, so I'm living in enemy territory, but Northwest roots forever. So this is a funny, like, full circle, worlds colliding moment. The hometown group texts are conflicted today because they were used to at a different phase of life rooting against Sam because they were rooting for me in college, and then now Sam is the new franchise quarterback, which, hey, he's a good dude. I'm happy for him, always rooting for him. If you've been following my content for years, you know I've been saying he is the, I gotta make a note about that. I made a video a couple years ago saying he is the next Geno Smith. Before it was trendy, before he was a Vikings, I said, hey, give him a chance, and I think he has that upside for all the reasons that ended up being true. I'm looking at a guy who has elite level talent, who got put in two terrible situations and finally got in a good situation, and at 27 balled out, and here we are. He's now a Seattle Seahawk with a big boy contract, and I think it's great for both sides. I'll start with why I think it's great for Sam. I'll get into the Geno versus Sam dynamic, which I feel like the Seahawk fan base is torn with that. And then I'll get into why I think it's great for the Seahawks as well. For Sam, obviously he gets paid, obviously he gets the contract, but when you look at the other spots that he could have landed, you had both New York teams. I still was holding out for the possibility that he would reunite with the Jets and create a story that'd be made for the big screen type of rekindling. But the Giants had a head coach and a GM that have an extremely hot seat. The pressure to perform right away and just the stakes of that environment would not be as welcoming as Seattle. For Pittsburgh, similar deal. You have a fan base that Pittsburgh Steelers fans are pissed off. Ever since Big Ben left, I think they have a short leash for what that would mean for whatever quarterback comes in there. We'll see what happens, and by the time you watch this video, but it feels like, Aaron Rodgers. It's gotta be him and the Steelers. And then for the Vikings, if you're Sam, you don't want to keep looking over your shoulder. Like, we always talk about it through the lens of the Vikings and JJ McCarthy, but for Darnold, he doesn't want to deal with that. So then you go to a team like Seattle that is one of the most stable front offices in all of the NFL, a young head coach that everyone's excited about, and I know he's a defensive head coach, but you could flip that on the other on its head and view it as a positive. Because if I'm going to a franchise where I don't have to put up 35 points a game, and there isn't this pressure to score touchdowns every single drive, and I can lean on maybe a more defensive identity team, maybe that's a recipe for success. I know there's a lot of Hawks fans that want to get back to that because that's the recipe that Russ had success with. But for Darnold, I just think Seattle getting back on the West Coast. Fun little fact, the strength and conditioning staff is the same strength and conditioning staff that was with us when we were at USC. So DVD, Ivan, I think Grant's there. Big Mark, I think, is there. So that'll be funny, like Darnold walking through, that'll be a full circle moment for him, walking through the facility and being like, yo, I know all these guys. These are the guys that were training me when I was 19 years old. But I think for Darnold, it's a great contract. You get some of the guaranteed money, and you are the franchise quarterback. But the whole Geno versus Sam debate, because I was chatting with one of my hometown friends that did not like this contract because he viewed it as just a lateral move, like you're replacing one bridge quarterback for the next bridge quarterback, except Geno has had success. He's familiar in the organization. Now you're bringing in a guy that there's some uncertainty with, and yes, you save money, but in the grand scheme of NFL contracts, saving what, 12 million? Geno was looking for 45. Sam, you get for what, 33 a year? Like in this market, what, like 12 million a year? Are you really going to get that much of a difference maker for that amount of money? I don't think it's insignificant, but I do think that is a fair point. I guess to me though, the biggest difference is by going Sam instead of Geno, you get a guy who's 7 years younger. So if you do hit on him, there is a longer runway there. You get a guy that I think is a better prospect. You know what you're getting with Geno. Geno is a good NFL quarterback. I'd be fine saying really good NFL quarterback. You can win games with him. You can win playoff games with him. But with Sam, we still don't even know exactly what we're getting. He's still young enough, and this was just his first year of settling into like oh wow, I'm established in the NFL. There could be a whole nother level of ceiling that he could tap into. And if I'm the Seahawks, that's how I'm thinking about it. Why would we pay a guy like Geno $45 million a year when we know exactly what he's going to be? And he's never going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he'll be an arguably top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I just think there's more upside to a Sam Darnold, which is why the Seahawks said, all right, we can get him for cheaper, yet still tap into that. All right, let's do it. And this whole like, hey, good on him. There's like this vibe with Darnold where it's like, oh, good on him. Kudos to him. Hey, he's cashing in. Like this vibe that like he almost got lucky last year. And so it's like, nice, man. Way to cash in. Like it has deja vu. I'm a huge LeBron Lakers guy. Like when Dennis Schroeder had that one year where he popped off and it was like, hey, good on Dennis Schroeder for cashing in with an NFL contract. You were not expecting a Dennis Schroeder reference in this video. But like that vibe was like, oh yeah, hey, good on him. No, Darnold is a guy that was an elite prospect. People thought he would be the number 1 pick in the draft type prospect. And Baker that one year, leapfrogged him, and that was somewhat of a surprise. But this is not just like, it's not even like Geno. Geno was a 2nd round pick who, the Jets, sure, did him dirty, and it was kind of a reclamation project later on. For Darnold, his prospect is not just, good for him kind of thing. Like, no, with his confidence, and now he's getting out of this, hey, I'm hopeful, I'm just trying to find my footing in the NFL. What's to say that as he's more confident now and can play with more of that gunslinger mentality where like, I'm not looking over my shoulder, that there's a whole nother step he can tap into. And another talking point that everyone keeps saying is, oh, well, he's leaving the Viking system and everything that Kevin O'Connell's doing. Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. He deserves all that credit, and the weapons around the Vikings, there is truth to that. That is a fair statement, and I can't blame people for saying that. But I just want to point out how many times we do it every year where one season we're loving up on one coordinator or one play caller, and the very next year we're like, oh, no, that coordinator's trash. Bobby Slovic, what's that guy doing? I'm not saying Kevin O'Connell is Bobby Slovic, but I'm saying the football world has a tendency to be very pivot very quickly with their thought process on a play caller or coordinator. To say it differently, because I do think Kevin O'Connell is a phenomenal head coach and play caller. Like if J.J. McCarthy sucks this year, then we're like, Kevin O'Connell, man. Oh, maybe there was something there that we were missing. Maybe Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold were better than we thought. There's a world where that happens here in 6 months. From the Seattle side, I'm sure there was an element of, hey, we did this with Geno and resurrected his career. Why can't we do the same with Sam? And I know Geno had not had success as a starter at all in the NFL, and Sam had some level of success. But if you're Seattle, again, you're looking at Sam. He's younger. He's a better prospect. He's coming in with more certainties than Geno had at this stage of his career. And I'm sure there's an element of, yeah, we can do this again. I also think the optics of going with Geno versus Sam, and I haven't heard anyone else talk about this, is not insignificant. If you sign Geno to a $45 million a year contract, you are signing him as if he is the franchise quarterback, yet deep down, Seahawk fans would know he's a bridge quarterback. To say it differently, you sign Geno to a $45 million a year contract, Seahawk fans are still looking at that draft being like, man, we should probably get a Quinn Ewers in the 3rd round, maybe take a chance on a Jalen Milroe, a Kyle McCord, Will Howard, because we got to be thinking for the future kind of thing. Versus for Sam, you can take that same approach. Actually, let me back up. If you did that with Geno, it'd be like, well, what are you doing? You just paid Geno all this money, and then now you're still looking for a quarterback, and it would just be this awkward. The optics would be tough. It'd be like, whoa, what are we doing? I thought we have our franchise quarterback. That whole thing. Versus for Sam, you're paying a guy a bridge contract. I think there's a general understanding that there is still a lot left to be proven. If you're Sam, if you're the Seahawks, whatever it might be, where you can go in the draft, still look for the future, still call Sam your starter and like the guy, but the optics are a lot smoother. If here in a couple of weeks the Seahawks take my guy Kyle McCord in the 3rd round as they probably should, to see what he has in the event that Darnold doesn't work out, the optics of that are much smoother. Versus if you paid Geno the big boy money, yet Seahawks fans still wanted them to do that. Contract-wise for the Hawks, to get Darnold at $33 million, $32 million a year, I think that's great. $55 million guaranteed in the grand scheme of things. If things don't work out with Sam, that contract's not gonna not going to break the bank. When you compare that contract too, I was looking at it, dude, like, you got Jalen Hurts, Tua, Trevor Lawrence getting like $20 million more a year than Sam Darnold. I know Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl, but man, you put Sam Darnold on that roster, shoot, they're still winning the Super Bowl. Is Tua and Trevor Lawrence that much better than a Sam Darnold? No. $20 million more? That's a win for the Seahawks. And oh, by the way, once upon a time, Sam was just as good of a prospect as both those guys. Again, he has a whole nother level of upside he could tap into. Again, to me, I go the mentality side. Yes, he's not with Kevin O'Connell. I know that. But for the first time in his NFL career, he's no longer like finding his way. He's an established starter in the NFL. There's no guessing game. There's no, hey, I'm a rookie just trying to figure it all out. No, he could have a whole another level to tap into. I thought the 3 years for the Seahawks in contract length was a win. I thought this whole time Darnold would command 4 or 5 years. That gives the Seahawks flexibility. And then I love the Clint Kubiak angle to this thing because, again, for those that have followed my content for a little while, when Darnold was on the Niners, I made the video. Again, I forgot about this. But when Darnold was with the Niners, I made the video about, hey, give Darnold another shot. I thought there was a reason. Let me backtrack. I thought there was a reason the Niners that year in 2023 when Brock Purdy's future was uncertain and there's a lot of, at the time, backup quality quarterbacks. There was a reason the Niners went and got Darnold because I think Shanahan saw what obviously Kevin O'Connell saw and then now the whole football world saw of like, no, this dude's got talent. He's just been in a shitty situation. And so Clint Kubiak comes in, new OC, doesn't necessarily have a relationship with Geno Smith, but yet he spent a whole season with Darnold, potentially thinking that he could have been the starter for the Niners that year when they had to make a run. No, let me go pluck that guy and get him in my organization because I believe in him. I love that angle for not only Kubiak, not only the Seahawks and John Schneider, but for Darnold as well. Love this contract. Sam Darnold fans should be happy. Seahawk fans should be happy. People might call me a homer because I'm like buddies with Sam or whatever, but even if it doesn't work out, it's only 3 years. I still think that Seahawks can keep taking swings in the draft for that next up guy. And you're able to dabble in both lanes in a way where the optics don't get gray like I think they would have with Geno. And then the last little Northwest nugget, Seahawks should go get Cooper Kupp. Bring him back. He's a Seattle guy. You need a receiver? That would be sweet. That would be sweet. And hopefully it happens. If you like this video, hit the like button down below. I'm coming out with football content every single day as well, so subscribe to the channel and go Hawks.